Hello, everyone in TAP Solutions land. This is Joe Wallace, one of the co-founders of TAP Solutions. And to my left or right, depending on your orientation, is
I'm Sean Odmishu, Top Solutions as well. Glad to be here. What's going on, Joe?
doing pretty good, man. Just trying to keep it nice and easy. Had the coffee already for the Wednesday morning and ready for the podcast, which, by the way, today, 100% right there,
Yes.
we're going to be talking about some things people love to talk about. And it's been a while actually since we've had a podcast episode, and I wanted to welcome everybody back actually, you know, and definitely something that we're going to be seeing a lot more of us on. I'm going to be honest with you guys on, and we got some exciting news also to share. Before we do that, who and what is TAF Solutions? For those that are not familiar with us, is a great question for us to answer. So, Sean, who and what is TAF Solutions?
It's interesting you mentioned that, and I've been thinking about what we do here at Top Solutions, and we do a lot of different things. But for those of you that don't know us, we are a technology solutions provider, and we're here to help small businesses, medium-sized businesses, with their digital presence and help them with technology solutions and really look for gaps, deficiencies within your business and help you find solutions to your problems in digital in the digital arena. Because I was saying if you think about challenges and problems, that could be a lot of different things, but we're focused on your technology challenges. Does
Yeah,
that work,
that's
Joe?
it. That works.
Okay.
That works great. Well, no, and what's great about us guys is that we're, again, an open book on trying to get people the right information for their situation or even just hypotheticals. Look, now please don't come up to us and ask like, what is the best way to get my dog grooming business on specifically TikTok? Because that is a great, you can definitely ask that question, but it's a very simple answer, and that is take a lot of dog grooming business TikTok videos and you're done. What we're more focused on is, well, what's the best way we can expand from your TikTok only dog grooming business? Now that's a question that we can definitely answer. And one of the topics today is going to help exactly with that, right? We're going to be talking about local SEO, what it is, how it kind of works a little bit, some real world scenarios. You see the description down below. That tells you everything you need to know. Go ahead, Sean.
Well, I was just going to mention one of the reasons why it's so important for us to talk about this topic is not only look, we're an agency. We've been doing this for a couple of years now, as an agency for the area of digital presence, and we work closely with a lot of agency products such as Bird Eye, reputation management, local SEO. The great thing is being an agency, we have access to some of the greatest, smartest people in the industry that are able to help us and guide us and coach us to be able to provide great insights to you guys. And with that being said, as being an agency, we do have access to our Google Premier partners. And with that being said, we're learning a lot of great things on what's changing. And we just want to share that with the community so that you are empowered to do more of what you need to do, which is how to be found on the internet. So with that being said, 2025 is looking very interesting. The whole thing with artificial intelligence, it's really changed a lot of the things that we're having to do as agency owners. And I know for a fact, as a small business owner, you got a lot probably in your mind trying to figure out how to wrap your mind around all these tools. How do you stay current and really essentially keeping up with the algorithm? So that's really what we're here to help with.
100%. And one of those challenges that we're definitely facing for a lot of small businesses is what the state of local SEO is right now. And that really is kind of what we're about to talk about, guys. We're going to talk about the state of local SEO in 2025. So, the state of local SEO in 2025, guys. Now, this is a loaded question. I know that has a lot of multitude of answers, but really what it boils down to, guys, is not much has changed on the surface level when it comes to this. You're still going to be using your Google My Business profile. You're going to still be using a lot of the same tactics that all of our clients are very familiar with when it comes to local SEO. But let's talk for a moment just what's most important about local SEO and why it's important, really. And I guess for me, it really is just Are you a local business trying to find people nearby or having people nearby find you? And if that's the case, then you need to care about local SEO. Did I summarize it up pretty much, Sean?
You did, but there are certain things that we do want to talk about that might help people, which includes understanding artificial intelligence and how that's moving in SEO. And I know that's in everybody's mind. And so there's two areas that we really should start focusing on, Joe, which is the emergence of answer engine optimization and generative engine optimization. And the reason why I bring these two up is because Google just rolled out something called the AI overview. So those of you that have never listen to this one, you're gonna love this one, Joe. I'm not going to ask you to Google your business. I want you to go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, do they know who your business is? And if your large language model, like ChatGPT, like your Geminis, or whatever tools you're using out there, is not able to spit out your business name, that's a problem. So you need to make sure that not only are you being found on our traditional internet, but also want to make sure that these large language models like ChatGPT and Gemini and all the great ones that are being used, that your business comes up. So that's one of the big things we want to talk about today.
Definitely. I think that really shows the biggest difference in 2025. What is really important. So, as soon as AI really kind of reared its head in a lot of people's view in 2022, it really wasn't in the state it is now, especially what it's capable of. If I remember correctly, when we first remember OpenAI, for instance, had no access to the internet. It was kind of sectioned off to, I believe, March of 2019 or something to that effect. And that was it, but now it's got access. It can do a whole lot more. Heck, the current modes it has, it's able to do some serious research on the internet. And I think that really is what boils down to. Is people are also using it now in lieu of your typical search engines. And so being found as an answer on ChatGPT's model and other LLMs, definitely a factor for people to consider.
Yeah. So one of the conversations we had with a client the other day is, okay, so, in the past, it's always been focused on keywords, specific keywords. Instead of you focusing on keywords now, you need to focus on actual questions. Just like humans, just like we talk, like, Joe, where can I go to get great shampoo for your long hair? Right. So if that's the case, well, you're gonna have to tell us the answer for that one too later on. But the point is you need to move away from just saying, okay, I'm looking for carpet cleaning, or I'm looking for AC repair. You need more to that because people are asking deeper questions about the challenges they have. So, for example, let's do automobile car AC. Okay. One of the major issues comes up is we're in Texas, we're in the Texas heat. And the question someone may ask online is, hey, my AC in my car has turned off. Why could that be? Well, ChatGPT may come back, or one of your large language models will come back and say it could be because of Freon. Maybe you need to be able to get more Freon installed in your car. So as a auto care mechanic, you may want to start looking for having your content to be optimized specifically for that. So in this case, with the answer engine optimization, saying here at Mechanic Shop, we offer Freon for cars that have lost Freon during the Texas heat. The probability of you coming up higher for that is very important. It's going to come up a lot higher. The other piece that I also want to mention is the term consensus. They're looking for, when I say the algorithm is looking for consensus across the community that this is the right thing. So if you've lost cooling inside your car, it's probably from the actual Freon, right? I'm not a mechanic, I don't know, but we're just making this up, okay? Here we go. So with that being said, so if all of the other mechanic providers on the internet that Google has been able to search through, it's going to say, hey, yes, that's probably one of the common things. That's great. That means that you're part of that unique group, and that's going to be able to help you. But what makes you unique to come up is not only being able to provide that consensus, but also say, here at Mechanic Shop, not only do we do the Freon, but we also provide state inspections or something that makes sense towards that particular service for you to pop up even more. So It's all about answer engine optimization. It's about questions. It's about being unique, but also the consensus and making sure that the answers to the questions make sense on the market. I think,
100%.
right, Joe?
And absolutely, and I wanted to add to that with an actual example of where some of these places might be found. And this is still, guys, is still attuned to local SEO, so don't worry. We're about to show a website, but it really is still has to do with local SEO, and because your website doesn't necessarily mean you have to use web SEO exclusively for that. You can tailor it to that as well. So remember this, local SEO, we're looking at FAQs. That's really kind of what it boils down to, is like if you're looking for a place to where people have typically wanted to find out answers to their questions, you can now use your FAQ section as a double whammy. Not only are you actually utilizing it for people who are coming in and viewing your website, trying to get, well, what are some of the questions people are normally asking in this business, and what should I be asking, especially if you're not familiar with the services someone provides. But this is also where you can really, and for your business, you need to go into your FAQ section if you've already got one, and then you need to really take a look at what is the consensus, like Sean said, for the business now, and then start adding those to your FAQ. Really a good idea of where this needs to be. Service questions is a great option, and things like how often should I get my oil changed? Well, maybe this question needs to be changed to what the consensus says. Do I need to change my oil every X and X miles, right? Maybe that's what needs to happen. And that will allow you to start showing up in those search results because you're going to answer the question, right? And so just keep that in mind. You put the consensus as the question in some format. The AI is smart enough to know, oh, hey, these people actually asked a question about the consensus. Let me use that is that the answer? And it's going to probably use it. So now, is the person in your local area that's doing that searching result? Yeah, then it'll probably use the answer. Again, this is still fairly new, guys, and we're definitely seeing a lot of changes that have happened and occurred over the years, it's not actually years, but really in the span of like weeks, things can drastically change. And so preparing yourself now for the future is really important. Now, before we dive too much further into this, I definitely want to mention that the other most important thing that you have, and kind of move into that territory, tool that's under your belt is fortunately come from something you guys are very familiar with, and that is Google My Business. Now, if you're not familiar with that, get familiar, especially if you're a business owner, because your Google My Business profile, which is basically just the profile for your business on Google, is something that really kind of like is the one thing that you need to have on the internet that kind of spreads its tendrils to everybody else and supports you being found online. It is, if there is one thing that you definitively need to have ready to go and profile complete, then you need to have that Google My Business profile. Sean, what do you think? Do you think that there really is anything else that's better than that?
No, just to add, once again, you got to claim and verify your listing. You definitely want to be able to do that. If you haven't done that, go do it now. Second is making sure that you have the right categories. I cannot tell you how many times we see businesses that think they're in the right category and they're not. Make sure that you're in the right industry, the right category for your company. That affects your search relevance. Excuse me. The other one that actually Joe and I, we talked about because we hadn't done a good job on this was actually making sure that you have high resolution images of your location, but most importantly, it's geotagged. So you need to go to your location, take good high resolution pictures, and make sure that it's geotagged so that whenever you upload it directly to your Google business page, it's going to do its magic.
Absolutely. And don't forget, we've got to make sure that we're understanding that when you go in and you make those changes, do your best not to change the key thing, which is your location itself. Because if you do and you're already verified, guess what? That is the number one reason why you have to re-verify your listing. Now, what is verification? Why is that important? Guys, it's super important because Google requires it most of the time. And what I've, if you don't get verified and you just leave it there, I want you to be very, very mindful of the fact that you are not being found online, period, at that point. Because if you're not verified on your listing, it stops transmitting the data. You see it, but nobody else does. And we've had several people discover that the hard way, where they've just left it unverified. Well, I see it, but when someone does a search in your local area, or you do a search when you're not logged in, you will not see it. And that is because Google will use the latest information it has, but it will stop broadcasting it. It's like basically like a photograph at that point. It's not helping you at all. It's not boosting your local SEO. It's not aging. It's kind of like I know, it's like a credit card that ages, right? You get a better credit card score with credit cards that have a long life, right? Think of it that way. That way you guys can definitively make sure that that happens. Now, if you have to re-verify, make sure you do it. But just keep in mind too, or there are most other places don't require you to verify your listing. That's great for local SEO, and of course the only one I know of that also requires that is Apple. What is listings? What is listings? That's a great question that we should ask. Sean, what are listings for local SEO? You're muted, by the way.
Doesn't help when I'm muted. So within Bird Eye's platform, when we use for our customers, it's what we call local SEO listings. And what I want you to look at is there's about 42 listings, and you look at that as the artery of the internet. Matter of fact, let me see if I can give you the actual list of that, because there's a ton of them. Let me see if I can pull up the actual list for 2025, because they actually change and they add new ones. Let's see if I can find that list. So you got your Google business profile, you got Apple, you got Bing, you got Yelp, Facebook. Those are the main ones. But now you got your chambers of commerce, industry-specific sites as well. There's a ton of them, actually. Matter of fact, if I could log into Bird Eye, I would love to. We can't do screenshot. Well, you can on that side. But let me see if I can quickly share with you the listings. Okay, I'm in here real quick. Okay, here we go. There's 42 of them. Okay, these are a lot of ones that you may not even be familiar with. So you ready? City Squares, Pitney Bowes, iBegin, Insider Pages, Foursquare, eLocal, Solio, Merchant Circle, Yandex, Property Capsule. Should I keep going? City Search. Believe it or not, Super Pages is still one of them. Yellow Pages, Uber's another one. OpenDI, SafeGraph, D&B Database, Instacart, MapQuest. The list goes on and on. But the point is what you really need to do is get on a local SEO plan with listings to make sure that you are published. There you go, Joe. Thank you.
And so what he's referring to is all these wonderful places like Pitney Bowes. What's a Pitney Bowes? And then more importantly, Solio, Yandex. I've heard of some of these. I've heard a lot of these.
So yeah, actually Ross in the background, he goes, Yandex is huge. It's the Google of Russia. Thanks, Ross, for sharing that. I did not know that, actually. That's awesome.
And here in iGlobal. So if everybody remembers, of course, at some point, I do remember there being a TomTom. I haven't seen a TomTom in a very long time, but apparently they're one of the many avenues of the internet that you need to have your information on. And what listings does, guys, and what's important about the listings itself is to make sure that you are accurate on all of them. That's why you have field accuracy right here being shown for the major players. Very important that you keep it as high as possible. Not everybody actually really has that accuracy tracked, but what happens is, and this is what's important about listings, is that if once every single one of these shows the same information, Google, Bing, and Apple all see that, and maybe Facebook, but I don't think they care as much. And they all see that, and they actually boost your organic searchability, like your ranking when someone does a search for what you offer or what your keywords are online. And that is what we're talking about when we're talking about organic growth. And obviously the tool we're utilizing for this allows us to be able to make sure all these different places on the internet are accurate.
Want to go one step further, Joe, and a lot of people may say, well, I'm not really sure why I have to pay for a particular service. Understand this, that you're looking for three criterias, which for consistency, which is the name, the address, and the phone number, identical across all directories. And you, as a business owner, a lot of the times will not be able to sit here and maintain and update all these directories. It's just too much. That's why we have these tools that do the automation process. So every 4 hours, they do an update and they make sure that the names and the address and phone numbers are consistent. On top of that, you have to also understand that because it's a public forum, believe it or not, people can actually go in and make recommendations for changing your phone, your address, or even saying that you're actually closed. So you may say, well, why do people want to do that? Well, the answer is some people are crazy and they want to sabotage your listing. Number two,
True.
they may go in, okay, and think about this. How many times? Matter of fact, I went to it was during the tax-free weekend last weekend, and I
Mm,
went to get shoes for my son. Okay, and I typed in rack room shoes. We're in Houston, Texas. I typed in rack room shoes, and believe it or not, Joe, I actually drove to 59 South, and we drove up, and it was closed. Like they had removed, yeah, rack room shoes, right? They had removed the sign, and it said closed permanently, and I was in shock. And on Google's profile, it showed that they were open. So that's a great
right.
clear indication that as a customer for using Google, I have to go in and say, hey, this company is no longer available here; they're closed. But what happens if the company is available and they're actually there, and I wanted to just sabotage? Well, that's something that people have started doing, and so to counter that, that's why there is the ability to one lock the profile, which we can help you with, and two, make sure that it's up to date. So one of the services that we offer is not only doing the local SEO publishing, but we're managing it for you. That's what you're paying for.
Yes.
So
Well,
hopefully
that's
that.
definitely why, it's excellent news. And that is a good indicator as to why we would want to be able to allow people to say, hey, this place is permanently closed. So people can't drive all the way to go get some shoes that, find out something doesn't exist. We've had that happen several times with other clients that, I understand, you have a business, it fails, it doesn't work out anymore. And you just want to wash your hands of it. Unfortunately, though, if you have Google My Business profile, it's still there until you close it.
So with that being said, though, I also want to mention Ross did say something really good. So since everyone's trying to get their AI to be accurate, AI will look at you as being less reputable if there isn't consensus. That's very true, and that's once again why you want to be able to have this tool.
Yes.
So there's two pieces to this. One is the publishing of the directories of the 42 listings that happens. The second one is the constant update and making sure that all the fields are synced. If you notice, there's a third column that says field accuracy, and it says like 100%. And that's making sure that what's listed in the platform, your name, your full address, service hours, matches what's actually on Google's profile. And if it's not, it will do a sync and it will update that. Imagine being a business owner and having to constantly do this. Don't you have enough to worry
More
about?
importantly, to keep
Yeah,
keep doing it on 42 different listings,
right.
and unfortunately, and this is what's crazy, guys, is that is the expectation. That is the expectation. It's not if, it's when are you going to do it? And I think that's the problem a lot of people don't realize is that this is not just extra stuff that helps you. I mean, it does help, but it's not optional anymore. It's a requirement and you have to do it. Otherwise you can't compete. And that's the problem that we're running into is who does have the time. So that's why we have to utilize the tools.
I think you hit it right on the nail too. Is a lot of people say, well, "Why do I need to pay for these services?" Well, the answer is it's a pay to play game. We're this is not our world. We're in their world, and if you want to be able to compete and you want to be able to be found on the internet, you have to do these things. And how you do it? Well, good luck. But we're here as one solution to help you with that. And that's why we have these video podcasts, is to really share this information for those of
Yeah.
you that are interested but really don't know where to start. And a lot of times people don't realize that, hey, you know it's overwhelming. Joe, I know when you and I first started, when we had our when we started Tap Solutions, one of the challenges that we had was digital presence. It was trying to understand, how does this stuff work? And that's actually what happened with me and Joe is, I come from a background in networking and cybersecurity. And of course, Joe comes from from communications and 2D, 3D. Anyways, long story short, between the two of us, we were scratching our heads one day saying, how do we get found on the internet? And that's how we ended up becoming an agency, because we learned real quick that as a small business owner, these are the things that are needed to be able to be found. So that's our story. I'm sticking
100%.
to it, Joe. I'm sticking to it, man.
Well, and that's the thing we want to always make sure we understand is that like when it comes down to, also remember, guys, when it comes down to the way things change, like we said earlier, that has a huge impact on what you think you've done. Let's say you've done a lot of work, right? Like me and Sean thought we did. We thought we had done a lot of work. We set up our Google business profile. We set up our socials. You do all the things that people have told you you need to do. But what happens when everything changes? What happens when Google decides, you know what, I'm going to update some fields, and all that work that you did, you have to do again? And that is what we want to try and help people avoid, is we want to automate something for you. That's why we chose the tool we chose. We want to automate that part for you so that you don't have to go back in and make all those changes again, update stuff, do all that. And so you can focus more on the things that are more important about your business, like providing the service or good that you provide. And to give a good example of that, what I wanted to share was we had a client recently, and still going through it, called Platinum 36 in grass installation. Now, there was, we mentioned talking about tracking keywords and stuff like that. Well, this is also one of the features that Listings AI does for us. And I wanted to point out Platinum 36's business, because what was interesting is they were highly affected by when Google made changes, And to give a good example of that, you'll see we have, 9, red means ranking down, and when, yellow means staying the same, and green means improving. Okay. You'll notice that their main thing is they have grass installation is on. So what we've got going on right now, and I'm seeing someone send the audio cut for you, but for somebody in chat, but nope, we're still seeing green lights over here, so should be just fine. Let us know in chat, guys, if you guys have experiencing any cutout at this point, if you're watching us live. Now,
I can hear him just fine. I know Ross just said I can.
Okay.
No issues. Yep.
Now, as far as this goes, grass installation is what we saw at the top here. Well, like when I say things changed, check out what was going on just a month ago. You'll notice something very different. Now, in June, Google decided to change something. And whatever they did, it has affected everybody. And I mean in every industry. So that's the challenge, is Google didn't exactly announce this to anybody. They just did it. And so it's basically taken all the pieces of the puzzle that were on the board and just turned them on its head. And now we don't know where everybody has landed. So that's why in July, you can see that things have drastically changed. Now, for Platinum 36, this is not that big of a deal, because they've maintained superiority in a lot of the key areas nearby where they get a lot of their business. But their business is also something that is seen around the local area in the city of Houston. So it's really important that they maintain what they had in June. Now, the good news is when they first started off in April, they weren't looking so good. This is the same keyword, by the way, grass installation. So we were able to take them from when they started, and they had been in business for a while, guys. They had been in business for at least 5 years, okay? When we did, just within the first 3 months, we were able to drastically change what they're. Now, theirs is a very unique scenario. We believe that there is a lack of, competition around them, which is why they such as drastic changes. But you can see why it's important. If they hadn't done anything to improve their positioning, they would not be able to compete. You saw where they were and where they are now. So that's just a real world example that I wanted us to share. Sean, did you have any other thoughts on it that you wanted to bring in, or did I kind of hit it?
No, you hit around the map. And so once again, so those of you that are looking at this, this is the Bird Eye platform. This is for listings. And just to let you know that whenever you work closely with us, we do a keyword strategy. We implement that directly for you. And this is the heat map that you look at every 30 days with us. And we strategize with you to make sure that you are doing what you need to do to be able to stay on top or at least get there. It is a tug of war, and every industry is different. But you'll notice that what this map is essentially showing you is two things, right, Joe? Which is colors green, yellow, and red. And then, of course, there is a numeric score from 20 to 1, where we strive to be on green on a number 1. So you'll notice that this particular client, she's doing really well in her service area. The teardrop is the service area. And then all around that location is where she's servicing. So let's say that you're driving, I can't see, and you're in Mission Bend, and you were to use your phone looking for sod, that particular keyword, she would come up on the third page, the third as the first page. If she's in that service area, it would be 1. And then, of course, if they're towards Meadows Place, you'll notice that they would come up 16. So there's competition. So what happens is we work closely with the providers to be able to help move this needle. That's what this is. So hopefully that kind of gives you a little more insight on what's going on here.
Absolutely. And I think really that kind of hits it pretty perfectly and tells us all about what we need to know when it comes down to listings, and especially when it comes to a Go My Business profile. Guys, this is super important that you guys understand this is not going away. This is not a phase. This is not the particular thing that we're talking about when it comes to listings. This has only been expanded on for many, many, many years. And so this is a foundation of technical service that you need to be aware of, at the very least, exists, and on top of that, utilize if possible. Now, that being said, there are other cornerstones that help us get ranked for local SEO and just being found online and digital presence in general. And one of the largest cornerstones that I know everybody is very, very familiar with, okay? And that is going to be, anybody guess what it might be? Review, review, review. Where are my Google reviews? Where's my Facebook reviews? Where's the reviews? And guys, if you have a business and you've already got like dozens of reviews on Google or Facebook or anywhere, you're ahead of the curve. You are doing great. And more power to you. Hope it's all working out. You should actually be getting some decent traction with that. For those of you who are currently watching this and don't have any reviews or have 1 or 2, it is time to make a change. It is time to adopt a policy of nonstop reviewership and trying to garner reviews. Now, Sean, I don't know. To me, it seems like one of the biggest challenges people face at first is just asking for the darn things.
Right. You're absolutely right. And there's a strategy behind that. So for one of the things that we do here is we actually have an NFC card and we tell people to just quickly tap their phone. It takes you directly to the Google Business Review and they quickly do it. So you offer the service. So let's say you're doing carpet cleaning. As soon as you've completed, customer says, "Oh, it looks beautiful, Joe. You did a great job." And you say, "If you're happy with it, can I get a review?" And they tap it, give the review right on the spot, move on your way. Or the second one is you can use our tool as well, which connects directly to your payment system. We work with all the major brands. Once the transaction is complete, they will be sent a link via text or via email to get that 5-star review. And of course, the tool that we also have does allow customers that are unhappy with their service to fill out another form. And it pretty much essentially, it doesn't stop them from leaving a review, but what it does is, hey, look, before you leave a bad review, let's talk about how can we help you.
Absolutely. And again, one of the many things that we enjoy offering our clientele is the ease and access of being able to get the reviews in front of their clients. and all the different avenues that it has. So with that being said, Sean hit it right there on the NFC card. Definitely won't talk about that because I think that's self-explanatory. It's something you can do in person. It's very personable. It's easy to do. A lot of people like to talk about QR codes, and I'll second that. That's for sure an easy way to get access to people or people be able to access what you need. Um, there is a way for us to be able to generate a QR code for your business too, by the way. So if you use our service, you can actually generate a QR code for your business. So something to keep in mind if you're ever wondering how to get it done, you can. That being said, it is important that when you get a review, that you respond to it. Now, I know we talked about wanting to get reviews. Okay, there's a lot of avenues to do that. But I will, to put a cap on that particular part for my sake, just ask for the review. Grab it when you can, like Sean said, when they're the happiest. But also just ask for it in general, because a lot of people I've noticed have just said, well, they'll leave me a review if I just provide good service. And my answer to you is no, they won't. They'll never leave you a review. You'll have some people who are aware that they should probably leave a review, and they might actually do it. But metrics say less than 1% of the amount of people, or 5% of the amount of people, unprompted, will give you a review. That's not a lot of people. Now, maybe even less than that. But here's the thing, guys: you don't have to worry about just always. You don't always have to ask for the review. You can make it as passive as possible by leaving things on your counter if you have a brick and mortar location where you're providing the service or product to leave a review. Or you can send out an email campaign asking for reviews. But the point is to ask, because if you're not asking, you're not getting it. Now, the QR code I mentioned is something that you can easily set up. Again, inside of your business, you can create a QR code through our tool. You can also create a QR code any other way you'd like to. The point is it's just, QR code is simply just a way for you to be able to scan something with your phone to then be able to take you somewhere and do something with it. Okay, that's all it is. It's just like an NFC card that can either take you to anywhere you want to go on the internet. You just have to program it and we can do that for you, or you can make one yourself. So if there's any questions about what and how to get a review, to the avenues, feel free to go ahead and comment down below asking those questions, or if anybody's got some other tools and tips they want to actually share in that regard, go ahead and comment as well. Okay, now that being said, what does it do for you? It boosts you, massively so, and more than in fact than actually probably even your listings. Because to be honest with you, without reviews, no one knows if you're a real business or not. It's a question, and it's not just people. It's the robots on the internet, if you will, that have no idea if you're real or not, and they're kind of mandated to make sure you're real, right? So if the robot, which is tasked, its sole task is to figure out if you're legit or not, doesn't see the reviews, but sees reviews somewhere else from other people, especially more reviews, there's a very good chance it's going to say, well, these guys are probably more likely to be the thing that my person that's doing, the user, is searching for, probably the right result that I should send them. So think of it that way. You know, if you got a friend, you know, who, and you ask them, who's the best dentist for me to go, get in front of, you expect them to give an answer that is like the best answer. All right. You can't, you're not going to expect the maybe answer. Well, they might be a dentist. I don't know. I've never been. You're looking for the best answer. So that's what it's going to try and do. And if your business is not positioned to provide the best answer, you're not going to get a good one. So Sean, what is another tactic that we can do? Or, well, not tactic, but what is another good reason why people should be getting reviews?
Look, it's all about people being able to understand who you are. And I think the other thing that we tend not to talk about is the negative reviews.
Yeah.
Okay. If you see a Google page that has nothing but 5-star reviews, that's kind of like us too. But if you don't see anybody that's willing to put in a negative review and keep it or not dispute it, that's a red flag too. So if you get a review, and let's say you get a 2-star review, you need a rebuttal. You need to respond to that because Google's algorithm wants you not only to get the review, but it wants to see the interaction between the owner of the business and also with the customer. So let's say the customer said, "Hey, I bought a plate of food from you. It was cold. They gave you 3 stars." We'll respond back to it and say, "Hey, let's make it right, and let's go from there." Not only you may be able to get a review change, maybe the customer will go back and say, "Hey, look, they gave me another plate of food for free. It was hot. It was great. Really enjoyed it. I'm going to change it from 3 to 5 stars." That's the great interaction. The reason why you want that is to show credibility, reliability. It also shows you the type of customer service you give, but that also shows Google that there is that consensus piece. Because you can like, and you can say, "Hey, that this review actually helped me." So that's why you want that.
Well, not exactly right. And you want any, but again, as you just said, you have to respond to even a negative review, and that is super tough for. It's hard enough for people to ask for reviews, I guess, at this point, but it's also difficult for people to deal with negative reviews. Now, not to toot our horn too much, but we got a great tool that allows us to be able to respond to reviews in a very easy way. You can set the tone, you can set how it responds, but there is a way for us to be able to respond to reviews by just simply using artificial intelligence and replying. And of course, again, you set the tone, you set how it responds, and more importantly, you get to say whether or not it needs to be HIPAA compliant, SOX compliant. You can decide whether it needs to be have a friendly atmosphere or it can be long, short. You really can dial in on it, and that's important. You know, the artificial intelligence that we have also allows us to be able to share our reviews automatically on Facebook, Instagram, and a lot of other places. The reason why I bring these things up is if you have difficulty in having time to be able to answer the response, any kind of review that you get on any channel, heck, even knowing where it came from, is something that's really important. If you need help in tracking that because are trying to get reviews or a way to ask for reviews, then you can easily use the tool that we offer to do just that. And on top of that, more importantly, it will respond to negative reviews as well in a dispassionate way. That way, even if you're upset with a negative review, the fact that you've responded means that Google has now great, you responded to that review. Google doesn't care if it's negative or positive in terms of the response. It just needs to see that you did, And what's great is with this as well, if you're using the tool that we have, you're able to actually send reviews, quick send a review request to anybody you would like, okay? To anybody you would like on your contact list. And if you send it to them this way, if they do decide to give you a 1-star review, it'll at least take them to a location where they can call you first before they post it. Now, if they're dedicated, they'll go to Google itself and they'll still give you a bad review, which is likely if they're very, very, very upset. But if they're not as upset, they'll probably call. At least you didn't give them an avenue to do it, right? And more importantly, like Sean mentioned earlier, this allows you to be able to automate. So if say somebody, let me give you a situation where you're provided a service to somebody and you're busy, you're doing all this wonderful stuff besides asking for reviews or thinking about reviews. You can set up your CRM, or should I say not your CRM, your billing software to, once somebody pays, be able to automatically send them a review request from the review tool that we have. And there are other tools that probably allow for this as well, but this is what ours does. And allows you to be able to then get that review from somebody, in a passive way. You didn't have to think of sending them the review request. As soon as they paid the invoice, you asked for a review from the software. And that way you can directly get reviews. It'll send it through SMS, text message, or it'll send it through email. So those are just some of the avenues that we can help provide you with the method, I guess you could say, of how to actually solve the solution that is collecting reviews, which again is super important to for your digital presence. So that being
You hit
said,
it right on the nail. I was looking right at you. I'm like, okay, but no, Joe, you hit it right on the nail, and I think I think all these things are super important, and these are things to take with a grain of salt. If you're currently working with an agency or you're working with someone that's managing this, ask these questions, ask these constructive questions, and see if you're getting what you need. If not, reach out to us. And here's the other thing: we love working with all people, all industries, and we love working with your current IT team. So if you got someone that's helping you with your digital presence, send them our way. We're friendly people. We'll more than happy to work with them. Matter of fact, hey, we love to develop relationships and see how we can work closely together with y'all.
Exactly. Now, there's other avenues, of course, that we can talk about, which we'll probably talk about in a future episode. Guys, we have another one coming up later on this month. Look for us a couple of weeks from now, so 2 weeks exactly, and we'll be rolling around doing another podcast where we're probably going to talk a bit about the social media aspect of your digital presence growth and all that wonderful organic traffic that you want to see, so you can help build on top of what you've learned today when it comes to digital presence, local SEO, and of course review gathering, listings and review gathering, I should say. So also we'll be having a free workshop that we'll be announcing, which is one of the only ones I think we have planned right now, but later on next week we'll happily announce that on our social media channels. So keep an eye out for that, the details of what it's going to pertain. But what it's going to do, guys, is we're going to be going even further into what we've talked about today and showing what you can do in a very large extent, like demoing how we can help and the things that we talked about and touched on today. And that's really going to be very, very helpful for anyone that's either got our services already or looking to learn more.
You hit around the nail. There's a lot of things coming on. We're not going to really talk about everything, but good things are coming. You're going to see more of Joe and I and other people that are part of the team that you have not seen or been introduced to. So we can't wait to share.
Absolutely. Now, that being said, guys, do feel free to go ahead and leave a comment below for any questions that you have on this. We'll do our best to address them in the near future for our next podcast we're going to be doing. And again, if you guys are live here with us and you want to ask questions, go ahead. We'll probably wait towards the end of like right now, like we're doing now, to really discuss and move into the, answering those questions if they don't pertain exactly to what we're talking about at the moment. But if they do pertain, feel free to contribute. We'll try and see if we can answer those questions. On top of that, guys, do keep in mind there's some new things happening in TAF Solutions. One of the biggest, of course, is we're going to be kind of launching a new membership platform, and we'll talk more about that as we have details. But just keep in mind that we've got an idea going on in our head of trying to make it a more of a community experience for TAF Solutions, and providing places for people to ask questions, work with each other, and more importantly, just kind of come up with great ways to provide more value for anybody who wants to tune in and really go with what we're talking about, like learn more and just become a good, advocate themselves about some of the knowledge. Because again, guys, none of this stuff is just us saying you need our service. It's really knowledge. I mean, sure, it's partly that it's going to help you, but it's not. The goal is to provide the knowledge that you probably weren't aware of, so your business can thrive. And that is really what our heart's at, is to try and provide, sure, a service that can promote that, but just knowing that, having the knowledge is important. And that's why we want to provide a great place for people to do just that, even without us. Okay, so definitely keep that in mind as we move forward and talk about that. Now, that being said, big takeaway. Sean, what was the big takeaway from today?
Big takeaway: make sure that you have your Google business page that's been claimed. Look at local SEO and focus on answer engine optimization. Don't focus just on keywords. Focus on asking big questions. 3, talk to your digital presence person that's managing your stuff and say, hey, are you doing this? If not, get to us. If you have more questions, reach out to us. And a lot of things are coming our way.
That's it. That's the big takeaway. And again, guys, contribute. Thanks for joining us today. If there's any questions whatsoever, you also have our wonderful comment section below, but you also have the ability to go to our website, which, as you can see, is right here. Feel free to go there, take a look at us, throw a comment our way, and we're happy to respond as quickly as possible. So until next time, guys, have a great rest of the week. We'll see you again.